Marketing is so much easier if you would just date a serial killer. Greetings, gorgeous one. I am the goddess known as Jackie. You noticed on the internet that it's the really big stories that grab people's attention. It seems to be the bigger your story, the easier it is to market whatever it is that you're selling. So, for example, you've got, you lost 130 pounds, you went from foreclosure to being a multimillionaire, you got abandoned with 17 children in the gutter, and you made this enormous empire for yourself. The really big, juicy stories are the ones that seem to have the magnetic quality. I mean, let's face it. Everybody loves a good story, and the bigger the story, the bigger the rise from the gutter, the more interesting it is. But let's face it, not all of us have those big stories. We have had ordinary lives. Let me tell you something that I have come to realize. While it's really impressive and very laudable that these folks have brought themselves up from extreme despair to the pinnacle of success. In my opinion, working your way out of ordinariness, out of mediocrity, is a whole lot harder. Because there is no outside impetus to help you. There is no sink or swim. There's no survival instinct in there. Because society is geared to keep you precisely where you are now, in ordinariness. So if you don't have a big story, if you're like me and you've had really a rather successful life, but there's nothing stellar about it, at least not yet, what do you do? Well, I, for one, have no intention of dating a serial killer or going into some kind of personal disaster just to create this impetus. And I'm sure you feel the same, right? Wouldn't you rather avoid all the stress of foreclosures or obesity or getting abandoned, whatever it happens to be? We would much rather get out of our mediocrity, even if it is harder, without having to sink to the depths of despair to give us a springboard, right? So, what do we do? The first thing is to start looking at your own life for triumphs. No matter who you are or how ordinary your life is, we all have had triumphs. Have you lost 15 or 20 pounds? Yeah, it's not the 100 pounds that's, really huge. But let me tell you, 20 pounds is the difference between a size 8 and a size 12. There are thousands and millions of people for whom 20 pounds would be the difference between feeling ordinary and feeling fabulous. It's the difference between skinny jeans and your mother's jeans. Have you managed to stay married for a long time? That is a triumph. There are always things to focus on that you can celebrate in your life. Even if they're not the huge, gigantic stories, they are nonetheless everyday miracles. And those are worth focusing on. Because deliberate creators know that the more you focus on something, the more you get. So the more you focus on feeling triumphant, like feeling like a winner, the more the universe will give you reasons to feel that way. And if you have a day-to-day job, if you are employed, even if it's part-time like I am at the moment, celebrate that fact. Don't hide it just because you're not living the jet-set lifestyle just yet. You have a way to fund your dreams, and that is something that is so valuable. And when you don't have to worry about getting food on the table tomorrow, that you don't have that stress in your life. That frees up your attention to focus on what you want to build for your future. Celebrate it. Don't go into comparisonitis. It can be very detrimental to compare yourself to some of those big stories. Celebrate where you are now as compared to where you were a little while ago. But let's talk a little about when it gets hard. When being comfortable is like quicksand. Because as Jim Rohn said, if it's easy to do, it's easy not to do. And I honestly feel that if your survival, if your next meal, if paying the bills does not depend on you making that call, making that sale, going to that meeting, it's so easy to put it off. It's so easy to say, well, I can do that tomorrow because American Idol is on tonight and it's not on tomorrow, so I could do this tomorrow. This can get put off. If it's easy to do, it's easy not to do. And without a survival instinct pushing you, getting out of your normalness is oh so much harder. But sweetheart, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always got. There is no escaping this. And nature's law says that you are either growing or you are decaying. There is no in between. So all the times that you put off doing what will help you grow, you're actually aiding your decay. That was a horrible realization that I came to recently. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but really, sweetie, unless you keep going, you're going to end up so far in your comfort zone that it'll be almost impossible to get out of. Time is the only non-renewable resource. And if we keep putting off because we don't have to right now, if we keep putting off the things that will create our dreams and create the security and the financial freedoms that we're looking for, if we put them off, even if it's just till tomorrow, we have stayed and decayed just that little bit more. So here's a recipe for busting out of mediocrity, to setting fire to the normalness of your life and finding the ladder, the kickstart, the jet propulsion to get you out of ordinariness. Here it comes. Number 1, focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Law of attraction states you get more of what you focus on. So therefore, focusing on the debt, focusing on the crappy job that you're still stuck in, focusing how you don't have fleet commander status yet, that is just creating more of what you don't have. It's a focusing on the lack. Focus on your brilliance. Focus on what you're good at. Focus on the step that you took that was difficult yesterday and build on it. Because the more you start to feel like you're winning, even if it's just in the tiniest of things, the more you will get more reasons to feel like a winner. I know it sounds hokum, I know it sounds terribly woo-woo, but it is truth. And it's definitely worth a try, don't you think? Number 2, use your time wisely. Invest it in yourself and your dreams. Because a second wasted is a second gone. You'll never get it back. And the worst thing is to get 5 years down the line and realize that you're in the same place or worse than you were before. Number 3, get the other important people in your life on board with you. A lot of the time when we start expanding, when we start stretching the borders of our comfort zone, when we start doing something slightly different, and we have to, otherwise we're going to stay the same, people around us, especially those nearest and dearest, find this a little uncomfortable. There are 2 suggestions here. Get the people who are closest to you on board with you. Help them understand why you're not going to attend the barbecue every single Sunday. Why you're not going to be at every single one of the games that, I'm not saying don't attend your children's games, but like going to other functions and things. Why you're not going to be watching TV with them every night. You will still have family time. It's vitally important. But there will be times that you will need to say, I have to do this. This is for my dreams. Get them on board. Because at the end of the day, if they're nearest and dearest, you'll be pulling them up with you. And to be honest, sweetie, if they don't see it, it's going to make life so much harder. And sometimes you just have to say, I have to do this for myself, and your reaction is your choice. I'm going to do a whole nother blog post on this because it is important the other thing that I wanted to mention though is don't mention it to everybody. There's a wonderful TED talk that I'm going to link to here about the power of not announcing your goals to all and sundry and on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere. There's a big power in keeping your mouth shut, keeping that energy to yourself. Watch the video, you'll see what I mean. Number 4 is, to paraphrase one of my mentors, to act as if and go as though. I often say to myself, what would rich me do? And it's an interesting little exercise, because not always will I do that, because obviously rich me would buy the shoes and rich me would go on the cruise, etc., etc., and sometimes that's not quite feasible just yet. But at the same time, it gives you an idea as to how you can act as though you are already the person you are wanting to become. And I just wanted to give you a word of warning here. Be very careful of modeling yourself on someone who has already achieved what you want to achieve, as they are now. They may be able to go for a week without doing any work. They may be able to skip a couple of weeks talking to their list. They may be able to goof off for a month and go, or in some cases go on a 4-month round the world tour without actually jeopardizing anything. But they couldn't have done that when they were still halfway down the ladder. And you need to remember that when you are modeling their behavior. Model them as they were when they were at the same place that you are now, not where they are up there at the moment. Does that make sense? Model their growth as opposed to model their result. I'm going to do another blog post on that one too. I think it bears explanation. So you see, darling heart, there is no need to date a serial killer or manifest some kind of disaster in your life so that you can have the kind of story. And I know I was being terribly facetious about it. These people have achieved amazing things. But I honestly believe that getting out of middle class, getting out of a comfortable ordinariness takes so much more determination, takes so much more courage, and takes so much more stick-to-itiveness than anyone ever gives credit for. I'm doing that, and that's what I found. And I would be delighted if you would discuss this with me. So do put your comments in the bottom. Let me know what you think. And I will see you on the next video. Have a wonderful day. Oh, and let me tell you, there's lots more lasciousness that goes out to the brilliant people on my list. So if you would like to opt in, you'll get my whole 6-part video series and lots more scrumptiousness from me. I hope you have a gorgeous day, and I'll talk to you again soon.